A recent wave of comic books has been focused on Filipino folklore and the Aswang. It seems that, like the movies, there is no concise depiction of the creature. I moved away from pulp culture and into literature to assist in understanding the many versions being represented.
A long time ago, in the late 60s, I had directed a play, and a gentleman from Batangas City wrote me a letter, and apparently he was the head of a school. I found out this guy was Professor Max Ramos, who had written a book. The book looked stupid, dinky, etc. But the thing is, he had made, the guy was a professor, and first time I ever heard of Philippine lower mythology. So all of a sudden, all these things that I was really interested in and fascinated about was a scientific thing, So I made friends with him, and I was happy to talk with him, and he was fascinated that a city creature like me, a hippie actually at the time, was into aswangs and manananggals and tiktiks and stuff like that. So I think it was that long ago that I started to take it a lot more seriously than just a bugbear, things to scare people.
Dr. Maximo Ramos did most of the legwork for anyone who might begin to research the creatures of the Philippines. He defined lower mythology as creatures that would cause harm or negatively impact communities. He divided them into 12 different categories. The curious thing about this is that the Aswang, or creatures believed to be Aswangs, appear in almost half those categories, including witches, who would cast magic spells to kill people or make them ill, werewolves, or more commonly were-dog, meaning it transforms into an animal to attack, the vampire, which sucks human blood for sustenance, the viscera sucker, which feed on the internal organs and sputum of its victims, and the ghoul, which devour human corpses. Because the template set forth by Dr. Ramos is the most complete and widely accepted formula, I will use it in our exploration of the Aswang. What Dr. Ramos didn't cover in his books is where the word came from and how the first Aswang came into existence. An article was written in the Philippine Inquirer about my presence making this film. A response was written 3 weeks later by Professor Samuel Miguel Briones. He stated in this article that the term Aswang comes from the root words asin, meaning salt, and bawang, meaning garlic. Garlic and salt are commonly believed to ward off the Aswang. What proved difficult to find was the first use of the word. My answer came from an old story about two Bicolano gods.
Long ago, the good and evil gods lived in harmony. There was an understanding among them as they created balance in the world. Two, who some claim were siblings, lived opposite one another. Gugurang, the good god, lived inside Mount Mayon. Aswang, the evil god, inside Mount Malinaw. Gugurang controlled fire and thus controlled the people. When he was displeased with them, he would make the earth rumble from within the depths of Mount Mayon. If he felt the people's behavior was unforgivable, he would make the volcano erupt and wipe them out. Aswang had no control over the people. Jealous of Gugurang's power, he begged for fire. Gugurang refused. He knew Aswang's intention was to gain favor by giving it to the people. They argued for what seemed an eternity, but Gugurang stood strong. Aswang made himself invisible and located the fire. He was able to distract the guards with gold. He placed the fire inside a coconut shell and raced back toward Mount Malinaw. Gugurang knew what Aswang had done when the throne room went dark. Unable to control his new power, Aswang set the world ablaze. Every village that Aswang passed burst into flame. Gugurang followed the fire and eventually caught up to Aswang. He took back the flame and returned it to Mount Mayon. He cried for the gods to help him control the spreading flames. And it began to rain continuously. When the fire was stopped, he took revenge on Aswang by ordering lightning and thunder to attack Mount Malinaw. The people never forgave Aswang for the evil and destruction he had bestowed upon them.
Professor Leothini Clavel uncovered a similar story about Aswang, regionalized to Panay.
The word came from a certain story about two spirits named Aswang and Gugurang. So Aswang represented the forces of evil and Gugurang represented the forces of good. Each of these spirits had this particular quality of having their powers strong at certain times of the day. So Aswang had his powers strongest in the evening and Gugurang had his powers strongest during the daytime. Now these two spirits were fighting for ownership of the island of Panay. So later on, Gugurang wanted to defeat Aswang and because of his intelligence, he attacked Aswang during the daytime when Aswang was asleep. So during the attack, Gugurang won the fight and Gugurang gained possession of the island of Panay.
The stories of Aswang were used to discourage villagers from leaving a settlement, which would weaken the number of defenders and appearance of progress. It was said Aswang lay in large rocks or bodies of water and inflicted harm by giving a disability or illness to those passing by. People stricken with illness from Aswang would go to see the local healer or Babaylan, who was given guidance and wisdom from Gugurang on which roots and herbs to use for healing them. I was hoping the witch classification of Aswang would answer why they are usually portrayed as women, and to find out how and why they cast evil spells on the seemingly innocent. The answer was rooted deep in history around 1567 when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi landed on Panay and began active colonization and Christianization of the villagers.
During this particular period, there were lots of upheavals in the town of Capiz itself, and these upheavals were usually led by women. Now, so that the people would not follow these women who usually attacked at night because they had no modern equipment or no modern weapons, the Spaniards told the people or the natives that these women were evil and they performed magical things, magical acts, and these people were aswangs. These women were aswangs. So the people avoided these women, and as a result, they did not have anybody to join them in their upheavals.
The same thing can be said of the Babaylans or the shamans or priestesses of the pre-Spanish Philippines. These people are very powerful. The village revolves around these people. They cure a lot of sicknesses. They perform prophecies. Some of them even claim to be able to change their sexes at will. I mean, some of the people still hold firm to their native pagan beliefs, and the Spaniards don't like that. So what they did is they labeled these people as aswangs so that people would avoid them.
Now, the people would usually go to Babaylans or local healers for treatments of their diseases. So the Spaniards, in order to get clients for their modern medicine, they destroyed the stereotypes of these Babaylans and they attached evil.
Father Juan de Plasencia, best known for writing the Doctrina Christiana and creating the written Tagalog language using the Latin alphabet, also created a classification of witches in the Philippines, or those who are in league with the devil and cause harm among the people. They were divided into 12 categories with details of what their spells might look like. So it would have been easy for the other friars to cast healers and Babaylan into many of these categories. Even today, the Babaylan have a strong presence in deeper barangays. It seems the populace is divided as to their value. Those living in cities would usually opt for modern medicine as opposed to visiting what they refer to as quack doctors.
Many of my members of family died already because they believe quack doctors. And instead, they go to the doctor to consult their illness. they consult first to the quack doctor. The quack doctor findings that it might be from the supernatural or aswang. So sometimes they suffered hepatitis. So their eyes already lose. Then later on, they go to the hospital, they consult the hospital, but it was late because the cirrhosis of the liver already there. So they died. That's example.
One of the factors why you cannot go to the hospital or see a doctor is you have no money. And if you're living in the mountains, you have to walk about half a day to see a doctor. And the best remedy is to see this Ceruano or Babaylan. And for them, they're the doctor.
Po, hindi ko mahiwaan sa bata.
Okay. So this oil is used for somebody who has mental illness. And this is used to ward off aswang.
Oo.
And this one is for para sa mangkukulam. This is for mangkukulam.
Oo.
Lolo Ganying is a fire dancer, and according to him and according to the people in his community, he can contact spirits, and the spirits would possess him, and he would be able to dance on fire when the spirits are inside of him. And these spirits tell him whether a particular patient who comes to him is being cursed by an aswang or is being attacked by an aswang or some other encanto or some other spirit or nature spirit in particular. So this is how he does his healing. He dances on fire because according to him, he doesn't get burned because he's possessed by the spirits of the unknown.
Too much belief in the supernatural makes us ignorant, but too much reliance on science and logic would make us arrogant.
It seems clear that early Spanish friars had a hand in creating this aspect of the myth. They introduced the concept of demons and witchcraft to the indigenous population. It may also explain why there are so many male Babaylans today. Historically, it is a spectacular reversal of role that the Babaylan would go from healer and midwife to causing harm through evil spells and wanting to feed on a fetus. This opinion was enforced when I came across a public decree made in the Philippines during the 17th century.
If you know whether there are any, either of your natives or of any other nation, either men or women, who are sorcerers or witches or magicians, or those who pray to the devil, it is a very great offense and disservice to God our Lord. We order all the citizens, within the said term of 3 days, under penalty that, if they know it and do not declare it, be punished most severely. Given in this village of Delia, June 24, 1622, Fray Miguel, Archbishop.